There we go.
Danke.
Testing 456. Testing.
Yeah, we like it.
Testing 456. So we're going to get into some strongholds tonight. Last week we talked about we saw the list come up. We didn't really speak about them. Postmodernism, scientism, naturalism. Postmodernism being the view that truth is relative and subject to the individual. Scientism, the view that science is either the best or only way to gain knowledge about reality. And then naturalism, the view that the physical world is all that exists, nothing more, nothing less. Tonight, we're going to spend some time on the postmodernist view. So the definition for worldview, as found in The Lazy Approach to Evangelism, because we've defined this slightly differently, but look at this. The sum of what one believes about life's biggest questions: what is truth and how can we know it? What exists and is real? What is the nature of man? What is the meaning or purpose of life, if any, and so forth. Basically, if you want to take the 4 questions that we've got on the board in the back there, that would be a really good example of what these big questions are. One of the things that you'll note is that when we were going through the Truth Project, Dr. Del Tackett spoke about what philosophers did of old. And those great philosophers were looking to answer a couple of different questions. But one was, what are the universals? And then the other one, what are the particulars? Okay? You should not ever lose sight of that. And we also understood in that study that it was the universals that we should be most concerned about. There are some philosophers that believe the particulars are the most important. That would be a bad way to go. All right? So, this is the definition of worldview. Again, the sum of what one believes about life's biggest questions: what is truth and how can we know it? What exists and is real? What is the nature of man? What is the meaning or purpose of life, if any? And so forth. Okay, back to the 3 dominant strongholds. Postmodernism, the view that truth is relative and subjective to the individual. That's where we're going to be kind of sticking around tonight. And I want to really hone in on these 2 words right here. Okay? If I were to ask you, how many different kinds of truth are there, what might you say?
67 million?
There might be some truth in that.
Oh, crud. I didn't even say that intentionally.
Yes, you did. You're rat.
That's all right. That's all right. Thoughts? No, you're not doing the 6-7 thing for me. That's not happening. I'm gonna give you something to think about here in a few minutes. Okay? Here are some additional terms. We'll come back to that question in a minute. Epistemology, the study of knowledge, beliefs, and what can be known. If you were going to summarize it into one word, it's that. Epistemology is beliefs. Okay? Next definition, ontology, the study of ultimate reality and what does or does not exist. And the key word here. What would be the key word in the definition? Correct. It would be this one. Now, I can tell you, I could stand here and tell you that reality, sorry about that. Hope that didn't reverberate too hard in the ears. I can tell you that reality is based on how God sees things. For a person that does not believe in God,
Well, how about here's the one too, is what holds for eternity?
I'm sorry?
What holds throughout eternity? An
And
example is everybody has their own beliefs, but once you die, does your belief still hold true?
okay.
Has it been proven false?
I-
I know some people don't want to, well, I'm dead, there's no eternity. That's such a gamble, but that's how they look at it.
I would agree. So as we move forward here, as we talk about postmodernism, we're going to be looking at the epistemology of postmodernism. We are going to be looking at the ontology of postmodernism. Now, we're not going to get too far into the ontology tonight. We're going to basically be looking at the epistemology, depending on how our discussion goes. Okay, so digging into postmodernism. All right, here's our truth definitions. Let's take a few minutes and review our definitions for truth. We will look at the following. Anybody want to guess again? Number of truth definitions? No?
One.
Okay, that's all right. We've got absolute truth. We've got objective truth. We've got subjective truth. Wait for it. And we've got relative truth. We got relative truth.
Relative truth.
And you will see how they have somewhat a hierarchical view, if you will. I'll show you that in a minute. It's really interesting when I was studying this out. Okay, so what would we as Christians believe in?
Absolute truth.
Okay, we definitely believe in this. What else would we believe in? Anything else?
Objective truth.
Okay, anything else?
Subjective truth.
Anything else?
We're talking about things that we would believe in, not we would want to or not want to believe in, right?
So I am talking about what we believe in as Christians. I am talking about that. I'm not sure I agree with the subjective. We're going to look at that deeper,
Subjective.
but that's going to be open to a little discussion here.
Depends on how you define it.
Yeah, and I am defining these. I will. Promise.
With the Websters?
No,
No,
I
there is
did
no.
not.
There is no for that.
Yeah,
That was the joke.
I appreciate that.
So
All right.
This is a joke. Too.
Let's look at absolute truth.
Yes.
Truth that is true for all people in all places at all times without exception. It says if it is absolute, it cannot be false in any circumstance. Ever. Ever. Now, any question as to why we believe in absolute truth?
Because God is absolute truth.
That's
God's
it.
word is absolute
That's right.
truth. Jesus Christ is absolute truth.
God exists. Jesus rose from the dead. Absolute truth claims.
You know how important truth is what Jesus said to Pilate when he said, I came to testify of the truth.
Yes. Let me ask you this. Do you agree with these statements here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does it fit this definition?
Yes.
Yes.
I might disagree. Which one would I disagree with?
Which of those two statements would you?
What I potentially disagree with. Remember, our definition says truth that is true for all people, in all places, at all times, without exception. This is where I should have refined my definition maybe a little more.
Well, not all people.
So,
Well, it's-
at all times being before Jesus rose from the dead,
Right?
No.
and
Oh.
God exists
See?
for all people in all
Right.
places at all times, but Jesus rising from the dead did not happen until.
But it's
Correct.
also the thing that Abraham had hope in the substance of that.
That
which
is true.
which is not yet seen. So it's.
You see where I'm going there, guys?
So it doesn't meet, Jesus rose from the dead doesn't meet a definition of absolute truth for the reason. it was
That's
at all times.
what I'm kind of leaning into here. And I should have looked at that a little closer. Now, do I believe that Jesus rose from the dead? Absolutely. Absolutely, I do. But all I'm saying is that when you look at the definition and you look at those two statements, God exists, that's absolute truth. Right? Okay? Are we getting this? I'm trying to make sure that we go through this methodically. Okay, next one, objective truth. Truth that is independently of, true independently of what anyone believes about it. It says it exists outside the human mind. It is mind independent. The earth orbits the sun. Water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit at sea level. Jesus was crucified. These remain true even if no one believes them.
That's correct.
That's objective truth. Do we see that?
Yes.
So you would confine absolute truth to the universals.
Yes. Yes, I would. Yes. Okay, subjective truth. This is truth that depends on personal experience, feelings, or perspective. It says, this is true for me. It can be true for the person saying them, even if not for others. I.e., this music is beautiful. I feel close to God when I hike, and Little Caesars is the best pizza. Whoa, what?
Absolutely not.
So it's a matter of opinion?
Right? What is it? It depends on what?
Me? The person?
Individual.
Say it again.
It's at the individual.
It's at the individual level.
And so when people say my truth, they're usually conflating
Yeah.
subjective. And here's the thing. I'll say this over and over again. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Feelings aren't real.
Amen.
But they're real to you, and they fit in the subjective truth. It's true that you may be feeling sad,
Yep.
depressed,
Yep.
but reality is not nearly as bleak as you're probably making it out to be.
Happens a lot
Subjective.
in marriage and relationships is feelings that lead people destructively. This is how I feel, this is how I see it, when that may not be the truth at all.
Oh, week in a nutshell.
This is person dependent. Relative truth. Truth that is claimed to vary from person to person or culture to culture with no universal standard. It says there is no single truth, only interpretations. What's morally right depends on your culture. Your truth is valid for you, mine for me. There is no objective meaning to life, and relative truth denies universal standards, as I said a moment ago. Now, based on all that, which ones do the Christians believe? Well, absolute and objective. Would they really believe in subjective? Probably not with that definition that we used. Give me one where you think we would.
So you can objectively, I suppose, be feeling one way, but you can also objectively be feeling two ways at once. Humans are dichotomous creatures. And so I would say that you could slice the hair down, into tenths, and maybe make the argument that the complication of emotions is objective ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's true, but it's an argument that I don't know if it's been. I sure haven't seen that argument made successfully.
So,
Your subjective
Your-
opinion, it's true that you have a subjective opinion.
yep,
Now, does that subjective opinion have anything to do with objective truth? You're going to have to prove that on any given
Yeah.
opinion.
yep,
But it's true that you have a subjective opinion or thought.
okay,
My pain is a 10. That might be true for that person.
For that person, yep.
Subjectively, they think their pain is a 10. If you drop the pain of labor during childbirth for someone that's endometriosis or something like that, maybe their pain scale would shift it down to a 3.
yep,
Don't know. But that's a subjective, and maybe for that woman, it's an 8,
right,
right?
yep,
But the subjective, so there's an objective quality that you could imply on that, but it's true that that person subjectively thinks that. So again, maybe it's all objective.
good points there, good points. All right, so let's recap this, shall we? Okay, here's a simple little chart, okay? Absolute, objective, subjective, and relative. Does this depend on belief? Absolute truth? No. Objective truth? No. Subjective? Yes, it does. Relative? There is no universal truth. On the universal side, absolute truth? Yes. Objective? Sometimes. Subjective? No. Relative? No. And here's your examples. Now, when we're talking about postmodernism, you're talking about people that just absolutely deny Christianity. Why? How can they do that? Well, do they believe in an absolute truth?
Maybe.
I don't think they do.
Maybe.
I wouldn't even give them that. I wouldn't.
What makes
There-
you say maybe?
So if someone denies the resurrection of Jesus Christ, they might believe in absolute truth, but at some point, if they continue that belief, they'll be confronted with truth himself and they'll change. Someone that's committed to it, like fully committed to the bit, no.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who are atheists who do at some point come to Christ, who believe in absolute truth, and it's that belief that ultimately is what the Spirit uses.
Well, how many different absolute truth statements could we make?
Uh,
Let's define it like this. Is it a few or many?
Law of non-contradiction, the existence of a supersedent being, God. There's set of logical rules, set of mathematical rules. I think mathematics and logic are not infinite, but they're pretty close to it.
Mm-hmm.
You can come up with an infinite amount of proofs, so I wouldn't limit it.
You think there's that many
I think there are,
that we don't know about?
yeah.
That's okay. That's a really important distinction.
One of my really good friends and a brilliant philosopher by the name of Greg Volk said, I don't know if I agree with this, but I find it fascinating. He said, I don't believe that Jesus Christ did any miracles. He says everything that we call a miracle was simply the Creator putting his hands on the levers in ways that we never can fathom because he knows the clock. And him reaching in and grabbing a cog or touching someone in some way, shape, or form, he has the power, the knowledge, and he's a superseding being, God. He's just moving the levers.
I
He's
can
not,
see his point,
he's not breaking any form of logic as God in the flesh.
But
but Jesus
correct.
himself used the word miracles.
Yes, but again, Jesus is going to use words that we are familiar
Understand.
with.
Understand.
And so the miracle is really, the definition is more for the human than for,
That would
the
be
Creator.
that would be Volk's point.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I think there might be more universals than we have any clue of. I
Okay.
think it's arrogant for us to assume we have all of them.
From our human finite mind,
Correct. Correct.
how many could we make? That's where I would say few. I agree with what you're saying. There may be many, probably are many, universal truths. How many could we even relate to with the human finite mind? I think it
Well,
would be extremely difficult.
Again, once you get into mathematics, it gets complicated.
Yeah.
You can really stack them
Yep.
in advanced mathematics.
Okay. So to my point, Luke, you took a good stab on this. If there's only a few absolute truths that could be claimed and shown to a postmodernist, and they don't believe in absolute truth, would they have any inclination to even accept Christianity? And the answer would be no.
Couldn't you say infinite things about God that are absolute truths?
Absolutely. For a person that doesn't believe in God, doesn't matter.
No.
Well, 2 plus 2 is going to be an absolute truth.
2 plus 2 always has been.
I'll give you that.
So again, that's a simple logic statement. I know where you're going,
Yeah,
but I don't know if I agree.
that's okay.
Yeah, I appreciate why you're going there.
And the thing is, what I'm trying to show to you guys, with regards to people that are into postmodernism,
It's not even close. Yeah,
they're rejecting absolute truth. Period.
yeah,
By the way, they are the ones that say that 2 plus 2 equals 5.
correct.
I actually have
Sometimes.
a question for you.
Okay.
That's kind of a dumb question, but like, would they argue that God exists as a not an absolute but a relative because in the English language it's God exists?
That's
in the
exactly what they do.
Spanish language is
Because it's based on what?
um,
What
they're not
is
thinking of
this?
the absolute, they're thinking of the
What is this based on?
the arsenal, or actually it's the,
Your truth.
yeah.
Whatever you think is true. You have your truth, and I have my truth. By the way, just an FYI, we've had people in our church that have made that statement.
What's that? You-
Said that
My truth?
God
Mhm.
exists.
You've
is
got your
a-
truth,
is
I've
a-
got my truth.
Is my truth because it's the English language, whereas I don't know Spanish except for Dios. Saying Dios would be the Spanish way to say God exists, but that would be considered separate.
So let me ask this question. If somebody ran into you and you had a conversation, they said, you've got your truth, I've got my truth, what's your first response?
Give him the old Frank Turek, Ryan.
Is that absolutely true?
Is that true? Yeah. Is that true? What if it's not? What if that statement's not true for me? What if I believe in an absolute truth? Well, that's your truth. But you just self-defeated, my friend.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. We're going to actually go through that. So, this is just a really simple chart that I wanted to put up that I feel like kind of summarizes this pretty well. Why does this matter? Because culture often says truth is subjective, but they really mean that truth is what?
Relative.
Relative. Huh. So, there is no absolute truth, collapses on its own logic because that is an absolute truth claim. It can't possibly be true. So your response, Ryan, was spot on. And that's where you really want to take them through that conversation. If they're open, yeah. That's why it matters. Now, what we ultimately want to do when we're speaking to people, we want to understand what stronghold are they touching on. What are the three strongholds? Postmodernism, what?
Scientism.
Scientism.
And
That one. Naturalism. Okay? The view that the physical world is all that exists, nothing more and nothing less. By the way, if you remember, we had our famous professor in the Truth Project that made the statements, and when I die, I'll be dead. The worms will eat me, and I'll just be dead. What is his view?
Naturalism?
That's exactly right. The view that the physical world is all that exists, nothing more, nothing less. That was him. That's what he believes. What's a Dawkins?
Well, he's still a naturalist and a scientist. Scientismist.
I'd lean more this. I agree. I would lean more here. But he's got a combination of both there, for sure.
There's a certain Venn diagram overlap going on there.
Yep. What's shall we go political for a moment? Let's do that for just a moment. What is a person like AOC?
postmodernist.
That's why. Why?
She believes relative truth.
For sure. You got your truth, I got my truth, and we'll live according to my truth. Okay.
She immediately
Now-
goes from an autonomous view to a heteronomous view.
Now, people will come back and say, well, why don't you bring up Trump? Okay, let's bring up Trump. What's his view?
Well, that's interesting. No one quite knows.
That's the statement right there. That's the exact statement.
And that's how he likes it, baby.
That's exactly how he likes it. Yep. No doubt about it.
Things he won't back down on.
Yeah. So again, I don't think it's postmodernist.
No, for him?
No,
No.
no. He has a view of objective truth on some level.
Okay. Let's talk about the epistemology for postmodernism. By way of analogy, suppose a dog is sitting next to a tree with two people observing from opposite ends. One person will say there's a dog to the right of the tree, whereas the other person will say there's a dog to the left of the tree. But given that we have two different answers, which perspective is right? Indeed, there is a dog to the left of the tree and a dog to the right, because these truths are grounded in what? the individual subject, hence subjectivism. Okay? Although there is only one dog, there are two truths, each relative to the person, hence relativism. So in the same way, says the postmodernist, no one is ever right or wrong because, as demonstrated in the illustration, all truth is relative and dependent on each person's perspective. Wow. And he's right in how he's describing this. This is what they will say. Now, what makes the difference for us as Christians? Can you have a view of God?
You can have a view of God.
Thank you. Stop right there. Can you have a view of God? Okay. Can I have a slightly different view of God?
Mhm.
Would they necessarily both be wrong?
Not both be wrong,
Correct.
but maybe
One of them.
They both.
Isn't this the two things that contradict each other can't be true? thing?
Okay, now, so let me, that is a great question,
what's the
because
what-
we
what's
have
the
said
law,
that.
Luke?
But if we have a person that's looking at a dog from the left and one that's looking at a dog from the right, which one's right?
Well, the dog may have.
Which one's right?
Both of them are.
They both are.
This is two. It's not absolute. It's
Correct.
Subject.
There you go, it's
You've
subjective.
seen the left side of the dog. You've seen the right side.
So are we on the right level yet?
Well, let's go one step further.
Okay, go ahead.
If they say the dog is absolute, what was the original prompt? One is
So one is
one
on the
says
left,
it's,
They're
looking from the
opposite
left, the other
ends.
one's looking from the right.
so one says it's Dalmatian, and the other one says it's brown or something
Oh,
like
no. It
That's-
didn't even get into that level.
that. Okay,
So I
Go-
see where you're going.
go
Okay.
back one.
So let's do this. Let's go back here.
Uh,
There's a dog to the right of the tree. There's a dog to the left. We didn't get into any of the specifics.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're both objectively correct from their own
There we go.
standpoint. Although it's not a moral or a truth claim, and it's only true with the added context, the added objective context.
What puts us at a point where we're clearly into the objective and into the absolute?
More data.
More data. That's correct.
That's-
Dog is to the north. Dog
That's
is
correct.
to the east.
Yes.
Dog is to the south.
Dog is a Dalmatian versus a dog is a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where things get, and where does a postmodernist want to sit? Do they want to get into the details?
No. No.
They're into the vague aspect.
So I had a debate once. Remember Edge Radio? I had
Yes.
a debate with one of those guys, and I said, the problem with your view of morality is you're assuming that there's a moral good, and to assume that there's a moral good, and I walked him through it, and I said, do you think napalming babies is wrong? He said, yeah, obviously. So I said, okay. You're appealing to a standard, like there's a kilogram standard in Great Britain,
Yep.
and they actually have a kilogram standard, or they have a straight edge for what's straight.
Yep.
And then this Mother Hubbard goes and he goes, well, my wife's an artist and she draws with non-straight lines and they're beautiful. And I'm sitting there going, what in the banana nut fruit cake am I speaking to next to me? Like, what? This guy is a motivational speaker. He's a pastor
Oh dear.
in a black church downtown.
Oh well.
And afterward, the station manager walks over to me and goes, oh my gosh, you made a buffoon out of that guy. I'm like, I didn't do anything. but they'll do that. They'll start to, once you move
Zero in.
once they do that,
You're at the end.
There's nothing you could say.
Right.
I didn't say anything else the whole rest of the segment because there's nothing to say.
Yeah.
So I think this is appropriate in this part of the conversation. I was listening to Frank Turk the other day, and he had an atheist on there who quote unquote is a cultural Christian, which just means he likes the morality of Christianity in society because it is good for society.
He's friends with benefits with Jesus.
He doesn't believe in God, but that's his thing. But he was actually a professor at a university and had to leave because he could not embrace wokeism. And he said, if you pushed back, if you asked questions, then you almost got threatened, like, we're investigating you. I mean, that was like, you were just to be quiet and accept the norm.
Yeah.
And the question was asked about when people start going down this road that they're going down, in his opinion, they get so far down there, they can't course correct. They realize, they come to a point where they realize this ain't working, but there's so much.
If your job's on the line too, by the way, it makes it so much harder to course correct.
Yep.
So, and he says, so what they'll do, they'll intentionally buy the lie, the deception, because they're so far in they can't course correct.
They don't have a
And
choice.
that's coming from an atheist. And I told Charlie, I said, it reminded me of the Pharisees when Jesus was crucified. Many of them knew he was the Christ, but because of their position and their power,
They
were
wouldn't
willing to
let
kill
go-
him
yeah.
anyway. This is a very dangerous spirit that we're actually dealing with.
Absolutely is.
All right. Think of it this way. To further grasp this position, consider the difference between objective truth and subjective truth. Objective truth is independent of human thought or opinion, whereas subjective truth is grounded in and relative to the person. For example, the statement Christianity is true has been presented as objectively true, meaning its truth is not grounded in my state of mind, emotions, or personal preferences. By contrast, the statement Taco Bell is the best food around, manna sent from heaven, is a subjective truth grounded in me, the subject. Love these illustrations. Within the postmodern worldview, there is no objective, absolute truth. And for some, even if there was, one could never know it. For example, skepticism. No one possesses the absolute truth, and thus any claims to objective truth are rejected because only subjective truth can exist. Let's get into briefly a little bit about the ontology. Now, remember, what is the epistemology?
Beliefs.
Beliefs. Ontology
Existence.
exists. Now consider how a worldview's answer to the ontological question, what exists, is directly related with its answer to the epistemic question, what can be known as true. On this view, if a person does not believe Christianity is true, then for that person, the Christian God does not exist. Hence, concerning the epistemic question, truth is merely subjective or relative to the person, and concerning the ontological question, reality is something determined by the individual. What are examples of things in our culture that have come about as a result of postmodernism?
Relative truth.
No, I'm talking cultural issues.
Cul-
Could we say abortion?
Yes.
yes.
And the sexual deviance.
The transgender issue is 100% postmodern. Now, why are we going through this? What we're trying to do is we're trying to set you up to understand what is the stronghold of the individual that you're speaking with. Where are they coming from? Are they coming from a postmodern view? Are they coming from a scientism view? Are they coming from a naturalist view? We'll discuss why that's important in a future study. But that's what we're aiming for here. And I'm hoping you're seeing the importance of what I've got outlined in red there. If a person does not believe Christianity is true, then for that person, the Christian God does not exist. If the Christian God does not exist, why do I have any laws? You have no need of them. Think that through for a minute. I could kill and it wouldn't matter. Oh, it would to some. And let me tell you what the postmodernist does. This is unequivocally what they do. They want to hold to the subjective truth, but they want the rules that go with the absolute. They want to mix. And God doesn't operate that way. So, very important for us to understand what stronghold they are grabbing toward. All right. Then with confidence in his voice. Nope. That's a different slide. Any questions on what we covered there? We will finish up the ontological next week. And I hope to have, now that I'm seeing how quickly we went through that, we will definitely, I'm hoping we should be able to get through the scientism next week. All of it. Okay? Do not forget February 6th through the 8th. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
We will be here. And I am so stoked for that. I really am. I think that's going to be, it's going to be meaningful for our church, is what it's going to be. Oh, one more thing. Two more things. I told you that I would be getting with Pastor Josh about